This title is presented to you by Soundlibra.com. For more audiobooks like this, click the link in the description or visit our website at Soundlibra.com. Ready to transform challenges into opportunities?
I certainly am. It sounds like a superpower, Alex.
It really can feel that way. Before we dive into the heart of things, just a quick heads up. While we're talking about mindset and mental resilience, this is for educational purposes and isn't a substitute for professional medical or mental health advice.
That's a great point. So, with that in mind, how do we actually start seeing things differently instead of just feeling stuck?
Exactly. We all face challenges. The traditional way is to see a challenge as a wall. But what if we started seeing challenges more like a fork in the road or a puzzle?
A puzzle sounds much more interesting than a wall. A wall feels so final.
Precisely. That's the essence of perspective shifting. Changing the way we look at a situation, which changes how we feel and respond. When we're stuck with one viewpoint, options feel limited. But when we can adjust our view, new paths appear.
So, it's like putting on different glasses? Each pair shows something new about the same situation?
That's a fantastic analogy, Lisa. Imagine looking at an object from only one angle. You miss details, but if you can walk around it, examine its texture, or see it in context, your understanding deepens. Perspective shifting is doing that with our challenges. We're learning to walk around them, to view them from multiple angles.
And this helps us move from feeling overwhelmed to feeling more in control?
Absolutely. When we feel overwhelmed, we feel powerless. We see the problem looming large and no solutions. By a shifting perspective, we identify possibilities that were hidden. This doesn't mean the problem disappears, but our capacity to deal with it grows immensely. Our interpretation of events is a powerful force.
It sounds like it requires conscious effort. We're used to our default thinking.
You've hit on a crucial point. Our perspectives are often ingrained habits, shaped by past experiences and culture. Yes, it will take practice, but our brains are remarkably flexible. We can learn to rewire our thinking patterns.
Rewiring our thinking patterns. That sounds intense, but also incredibly empowering.
It is. And as we begin, it's crucial to acknowledge the initial resistance we might feel. Change is uncomfortable. Our minds cling to familiar patterns because they are known. Resisting this resistance, understanding it, is part of the process.
So when we get that instinct to shut down or get frustrated, that's our signal to try and shift, rather than just react?
Exactly. That frustration, that feeling of being stuck, is the perfect invitation to practice. It's telling us, hey, the usual approach isn't working. Let's try something new. We'll equip you with a toolkit of new approaches, techniques that help you actively choose your perspective.
I'm really excited about that, because sometimes I can't even imagine seeing a problem differently. It just feels like the only reality.
That's completely natural. Our emotional state colors our perception. When we're anxious or stressed, our vision narrows. We might only see the immediate threat or negative outcome. This series builds the mental muscles to widen that vision, even when emotions tell us to hunker down. We're aiming for flexible resilience.
Flexible resilience. I like that. It sounds strong, but also adaptable.
It is. Traditional resilience focuses on bouncing back. Flexible resilience is about bouncing forward, adapting, and growing through adversity. It means seeing challenges not as interruptions, but as integral parts of a rich, evolving life. It's about finding the hidden lessons, unexpected opportunities, and areas for personal growth that every setback offers, if we're willing to look.
So the core idea is that our perspective isn't fixed. We can learn to change it to our advantage.
That's the foundation, Lisa. For the next 11 episodes, we'll dive deep into practical strategies for doing just that. We'll explore techniques for reframing, understanding different viewpoints, cultivating optimism without ignoring reality, in building these shifts in habits.
It feels like we're about to embark on a real journey of mindset transformation.
We are. The power to change your experience lies not in changing external circumstances, but in changing your internal lens. You may not always control what happens, but you can absolutely control how you interpret and respond. This ability to shift perspective is your most valuable tool for navigating life's ups and downs.
It's the foundation for seeing not just challenges, but also the opportunities they conceal.
Precisely. So, get ready to see your challenges in a whole new light. The journey to mastering your perspective begins now.
And next time, we'll be unpacking those current lenses we all wear to understand where our default perspectives come from.
That's right. Join us for episode 2 of the Perspective Shift. Next episode, Unpacking Your Current Lenses. Welcome back. Today, we unpack the filters shaping how you see challenges.
That's right, Alex. It's like looking through a pair of glasses made of our past experiences, beliefs, and default emotional reactions. We don't often realize we're wearing them, making this step crucial. Before we can choose new glasses, we must acknowledge the ones we currently have on.
Exactly. Think about it. Have you ever looked back at a situation that felt disastrous then, only to realize later it led to something good? Or seen a friend react completely differently to the same setback? That's the power of these underlying lenses. They actively shape our reality.
So, what are these lenses made of? You mentioned past experiences and beliefs. Can you elaborate?
Absolutely. Our past experiences are foundational. If you've been frequently let down, you might develop a lens of mistrust. When a new person appears, your lens filters their actions through that past experience, searching for signs of betrayal. Conversely, early supportive relationships might create a lens of inherent trust.
That makes perfect sense. It's like a subconscious pattern recognition system.
Precisely. And our beliefs, both conscious and unconscious, play a huge role. These are deeply held ideas about ourselves, others, and the world. For instance, someone who believes they aren't inherently capable might see a hard task and immediately think, I can't do this, before even trying. That belief acts as a lens, obscuring their own potential.
And how do these lenses influence our automatic reactions to adversity? I know sometimes when something goes wrong, my first thought is pure frustration, and I don't even consider other possibilities.
That's a perfect example of an automatic reaction dictated by your current lenses. Often, these reactions stem from deeply ingrained emotional responses. If you've consistently felt shame or embarrassment when making mistakes, your lens might be geared toward avoiding anything that could lead to those feelings. So, a minor error triggers a disproportionately strong negative emotional response. We're talking about responses like defensiveness, avoidance, or even anger. These aren't necessarily rational, they're often conditioned.
So, it's not just about what we think, but how we feel and how those feelings are triggered by our perspectives. This sounds like it could be quite limiting.
It absolutely can be. When we view the world through a narrow or negative lens, say, one of scarcity or threat, we tend to miss opportunities. We might overlook a potential partnership because we're focused on what could go wrong. We might shy away from a new learning experience because we fear appearing incompetent. This isn't a conscious choice, it's the lens at work.
It's like having blind spots, but on a much grander scale, affecting our entire outlook.
Exactly. And the insidious part is how these lenses reinforce themselves. If your lens is one of pessimism, you'll naturally seek out and notice information that confirms your pessimism. This creates a feedback loop. You see negative outcomes, which strengthens your pessimistic lens, making you more likely to see negative outcomes in the future.
So, the first step is just noticing these lenses? without judgment?
That's the core of it. Self-awareness is the absolute key. We need to become detectives of our own minds. Ask yourself, when I face a difficulty, what's my immediate thought? What's my immediate feeling? What's my immediate urge to act? And then, crucially, ask, is this my only possible reaction? Is this serving me?
That's a really powerful question. Is this serving me? It reframes the automatic reaction from something inherent to something functional or dysfunctional.
Precisely. We're not trying to erase our past experiences or our personalities. We're trying to understand how our unique lens, shaped by that past, is currently impacting our present and future. It's about recognizing that your current perspective is just one perspective, not the absolute truth.
Can you give us an example? Maybe a common scenario where different lenses create vastly different outcomes?
Sure, let's say someone loses their job. Lens 1, pessimism and scarcity. The thought process might be, this is a disaster. I'll never find another job. I'm not good enough. My career is over. The reaction is likely fear, despair, and inaction. Lens 2, opportunity and resilience. The thought process might be, okay, this is tough, but it's also a chance to reevaluate. What kind of work do I really want to do? What skills can I build during this time? This is a setback, but not the end. The reaction is proactive problem solving, learning, and seeking new paths.
Wow. Same event, two completely different internal narratives and subsequent actions, all driven by the existing lenses.
And that's the goal of this episode, to encourage listeners to look inward and begin identifying their own usual lenses. What are your go-to assumptions when things get tough? What beliefs about yourself or the world seem to kick in automatically? Are you approaching challenges with a sense of dread or with a sense of curiosity?
This is where self-reflection is so vital, isn't it? It's about observing these patterns without immediately trying to fix them, but just to understand them, like a scientist observing a phenomenon without labeling it good or bad yet.
That's a great analogy, Lisa. Observation first. The fixing comes later, and that's what we'll be getting into in the next episodes. We'll be exploring specific techniques to reframe our perspectives. But we can't build new habits or adopt new viewpoints if we don't first understand the deeply ingrained ones we're currently using. We've talked about how past experiences, beliefs, and automatic emotional reactions form these lenses. We explored how these lenses can create feedback loops that reinforce negative outlooks. And we've seen how the same situation can be interpreted wildly differently based on the lens applied.
So, to recap for our listeners, our current perspectives act like invisible filters shaped by our past, our beliefs, and our automatic emotional responses. These lenses dictate how we interpret challenges and can either limit us or open us up to new possibilities. The first step to gaining more control over our perspective is simply to become aware of these lenses, observing our automatic thoughts and feelings without judgment.
That's a perfect summary. Understanding these lenses is the foundation for everything else we'll discuss. Before we can shift our perspective, we need to know what perspective we're shifting from.
And in our next episode, we're going to dive into our first active reframing technique. We'll explore the power of asking what if questions to unlock new ways of seeing things.
Next episode, the power of the what if question. Welcome back. Last time, we explored how to unpack your current lenses. Now, let's tackle the art of reframing.
I'm ready. So, we've discussed how our perspectives are like glasses, and sometimes they make obstacles seem bigger than they are. What's this first reframing technique, the what if question, going to do for us?
The what if question directly challenges our default, often negative, thinking. Think about it. When something difficult happens, our natural inclination is often to ask, why is this happening to me? We get stuck feeling powerless.
Oh, I know that feeling. It's like a dark cloud descends, and all you see is the bad. You feel blindsided, and the energy drains out of you. It's a very internal distress, isn't it?
Exactly. While acknowledging those feelings is important, dwelling there doesn't help us move forward. The what if question acts as a pivot, nudging us toward a more constructive mindset. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? We ask, what if this is happening for me? Or what if this is an opportunity?
For me instead of to me. That's a subtle but huge shift. It removes the sense of being attacked by circumstances and replaces it with the idea that there might be a purpose or benefit, even if it's not immediately obvious.
Precisely. It transforms a perceived problem into a potential solution or a learning experience. Imagine you've just lost your job. The automatic thought might be, why me? My career is ruined. That's the why is this happening to me zone.
And it feels pretty hopeless there.
It does. But then you pause and ask, okay, what if this job loss is an opportunity? Suddenly, your mind starts to open up.
Well, maybe it's a chance to finally pursue that passion project I never had time for. Or perhaps it's an opportunity to learn a new skill that will make me more marketable. Or maybe it means I can take a break and reassess what I actually want to do with my career.
You're getting it. You've moved from despair to active problem solving. The what if question doesn't deny the difficulty. It reframes the context. It asks your subconscious to find the silver lining. What if this setback is just a detour, not a dead end? What if this challenge is designed to make me stronger?
It's like giving your brain new instructions. Instead of searching for reasons why it's bad, it starts searching for reasons why it could be good, or, at least, manageable and instructive. It's about shifting from a passive victim to an active participant in your own life's narrative.
That's a perfect way to put it, Lisa. It's about reclaiming agency. When we ask, why me? We hand over control. When we ask, what if? We take it back. We're saying, I understand this is tough, but I believe there's a way through this and I'm going to look for it.
So, it's not about pretending everything is sunshine and rainbows. It's about acknowledging the storm but looking for the port in the storm or the lessons within the thunder.
Exactly. It's about intelligent optimism. It acknowledges the negative but actively seeks the positive potential. Consider a difficult relationship. Instead of focusing on all the ways the other person is wrong, or why you're always the one making sacrifices, you can ask, what if this conflict is teaching me something about my own boundaries? Or, what if there's a misunderstanding I can help clear up?
That's a great example. It shifts the focus from blame to understanding and growth. It's like turning a magnifying glass on the problem into a tool for building bridges.
And this technique is incredibly versatile. It works for small annoyances, like your internet going out right before an important meeting, to major life events. If your internet goes out, the why me might lead to frustration. But the what if could lead you to, what if this forces me to take a mandated break? Or what if talking to my neighbor about their Wi-Fi leads to a new friendship?
It sounds simple, but I can already feel the subtle shift in my own mind just thinking about it. It's not about ignoring the pain or the difficulty, but about not letting it be the only story we tell ourselves.
That's the core of it. We shape our reality with the stories we tell ourselves. The what if question is a powerful tool to author a more resilient and opportunity-rich narrative. It's about possibility, not predeterminism. When faced with an obstacle, try to pause before you spiral into complaint. Take a breath and ask yourself, what if this is an opportunity for growth? Or what if there's a lesson here for me?
And those questions don't demand an immediate answer. They simply open the door for one to emerge. It's about creating mental space for positive reframing.
Right? It's not about forcing a positive outcome, but about opening your mind to possibilities you might otherwise miss. The what if question encourages curiosity instead of certainty about the negative. It's a fundamental shift from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. When you believe challenges are fixed attributes, you tend to ask, why me? When you believe you can grow through challenges, you ask, what if?
So, to recap for our listeners, we've introduced the first reframing technique, the what if question. This tool helps us move away from asking, why is this happening to me? which leads to feelings of victimhood, and pivot to asking questions like, what if this is happening for me? Or, what if this is an opportunity? This shift helps us regain control, encourages curiosity, and opens us up to finding lessons and possibilities within difficult situations.
Exactly. It's about consciously choosing a more empowering narrative. This is a practice, so don't get discouraged if your first instinct is still the why me. Just keep gently nudging yourself towards the what if.
I think this is going to be a game changer. It's accessible, straightforward, and the potential impact is huge.
It truly is. We'll be building on this. But mastering this single technique can fundamentally alter how you experience life's inevitable challenges.
So, for our listeners, the challenge this week is to try it. When something doesn't go as planned, consciously pause and ask yourself, what if this is an opportunity for growth? And see what happens.
Excellent advice. Next time, we'll explore another powerful reframing technique, finding the hidden lesson in every situation. Welcome back to the Perspective Shift. We explored the powerful what if question.
And today, we're diving deeper into reframing by finding the hidden lesson within a challenge. Life happens, and it's how we react that matters.
Adversity, while often difficult, can be one of our most potent teachers. Imagine learning a new skill. Mistakes are chances to learn and improve. Challenges in life function similarly.
So, instead of seeing a setback as a failure, we should actively look for what it's teaching us.
Precisely. This ties back to unpacking your current viewpoint from episode 2. Your perspective shapes how you interpret events. Intending to find a lesson adjusts that viewpoint, shifting from a victim to a student mentality.
That's a mental upgrade, moving from, why is this happening to me, to what can this teach me?
That's a perfect way to put it. This technique is about consciously choosing to extract value from difficulty, recognizing that even tough experiences can offer wisdom.
How can we practically start doing this? It's hard to see beyond immediate pain when you're in the thick of it.
The first step is intention. Decide you want to find a lesson. When facing a difficult situation, pause before reacting and ask, what is this experience trying to show me?
So, a moment of deliberate reflection.
Exactly. Then, explore with questions like, what did I learn about myself? What skills did I develop? Did this reveal weaknesses or blind spots? What habits are no longer serving me?
It's like conducting an inner inventory after a storm.
That's a wonderful analogy. The answers aren't always immediate. It's about planting the seed of inquiry. Think of losing a job, initially devastating, but it might lead to exploring a new, more fulfilling career path. The lesson is in the opportunity for growth.
So, we're looking for growth opportunities hidden within the difficulties. It's about finding the purpose beyond the pain, not denying it.
Precisely. This technique is powerful when we encounter repeated patterns. Facing similar problems often signals an unlearned lesson. Life keeps presenting the scenario until we integrate the wisdom.
Oh, I can relate to that. It's like the universe giving you a do-over with a pop quiz.
That's a good way to look at it. When we successfully find and integrate these lessons, it builds incredible resilience. Each challenge conquered adds to our inner strength and wisdom, like accumulating knowledge in a personal wisdom bank.
And this process makes us more adaptable. If we're always learning, we're better equipped for what's next.
Absolutely. It shifts our mindset from fearing change to embracing it as an opportunity for learning. It's about cultivating a growth mindset where challenges are seen as stepping stones. Our perspectives shape our reality. Looking for lessons helps us see challenges not as misfortunes, but as purposeful events designed to help us evolve.
So, to recap this technique of finding the hidden lesson, First, we have the intention to seek out the learning within a challenge. Second, we ask probing questions about what the experience is teaching us. And third, we understand this is an ongoing process that builds resilience and adaptability.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. It's about actively engaging with our experiences, becoming the architect of our own growth, even when the materials are tough. This approach transforms setbacks into stepping stones and pain into wisdom.
It's empowering to think that even difficult times serve a positive purpose for our development.
And that's the essence of the perspective shift. We're not just enduring challenges, we're learning from them, growing through them, and becoming stronger and wiser.
So, for our listeners, the homework is clear. The next time you face a difficulty, pause, breathe, and ask, what is this trying to teach me?
Exactly. And as we've seen, understanding your current viewpoint from episode 2 is key to helping you identify what lessons might be trying to emerge. Next episode, Cultivating Multiple Viewpoints, the walk-a-mile approach. Welcome back to the Perspective Shift. Last time, we explored how to find hidden lessons. Now, let's tackle cultivating multiple viewpoints.
That sounds like a fantastic way to build on what we've learned, Alex. Because, we've talked about changing our lenses in episode 2 and then reframing with specific techniques in episodes 3 and 4. But this one feels like it's about actively seeking out different lenses that aren't even our own.
Exactly, Lisa. We've been focusing on how we can see things differently. This episode is about understanding how others see things and why that's incredibly powerful. Think about it. We've all got our own unique experiences, our own upbringing, our own set of beliefs. These shape the way we see the world, like we discussed with our lenses in episode 2. When we only ever look through our own single lens, we can become quite limited in our understanding.
And we can totally miss things. If I'm wearing my blue glasses, I see all the blues very clearly. But I might not even notice the vibrant reds or yellows that are right in front of me.
That's a perfect analogy, Lisa. The walk a mile in their shoes approach is all about deliberately taking off your own glasses and trying on someone else's, at least for a little while. It's the process of actively trying to understand another person's perspective, their motivations, their feelings, and their experiences.
So, it's not just about agreeing with them or even necessarily liking their viewpoint. It's about understanding why they see things the way they do.
Precisely. It's about cultivating empathy. And this is crucial because so many problems, whether personal or professional, arise from a lack of understanding between people. When we can step into someone else's shoes, we begin to see the situation from a more complete picture.
I can see how that would immediately unlock new solutions. If I'm stuck on a problem and I'm looking at it from my angle, and then I understand how someone else sees it, they might point out something I never even considered.
Absolutely. Imagine you're working on a project with a team. You have your ideas, and Sarah has hers. If you dismiss Sarah's ideas outright because they're different from yours, you're missing out on whatever valuable insight she's bringing. But if you ask Sarah, can you help me understand your thinking behind that? What makes you believe that's the best approach? You're opening a door.
And Sarah then feels heard, which is important too. Instead of digging in her heels, she's more likely to explain.
That's a great point, Lisa. Fostering that sense of being heard and understood can de-escalate conflict and build trust. When we approach someone with genuine curiosity about their perspective, rather than judgment, we create a more collaborative atmosphere. So, how do we actually do this walk-a-mile thing? It sounds simple, but in practice, it can be challenging, especially if we strongly disagree with the other person.
Right. It's one thing to understand someone you already agree with, but it's another entirely when their viewpoint feels completely alien or even offensive.
Indeed, the first step is conscious effort. You have to decide you want to understand. It's not a passive process. You need to actively listen. And I don't just mean waiting for your turn to speak. I mean truly listening to what the other person is saying, both their words and the emotions behind them.
So, active listening. What does that involve?
It involves paying attention, making eye contact if appropriate, nodding to show you're engaged, and then, crucially, asking clarifying questions. Instead of, that's a terrible idea, you ask, can you tell me more about why you think that would work? Or, what are your biggest concerns about my proposed solution?
So, it's about seeking information, not just validation for your own thoughts.
Exactly. You're gathering data. You're trying to build a mental map of their world. Another technique is to try and articulate their viewpoint back to them. You can say something like, so, if I understand you correctly, you're feeling concerned about X because you believe Y will happen. Is that right?
Oh, I love that. That's a really concrete way to check your understanding and show the other person you're making an effort. It also gives them a chance to correct you if you've misunderstood something.
Precisely. This is where the walk-a-mile metaphor really comes into play. You're trying to imagine what it would be like to be in their situation. What pressures are they under? What are their goals? What are their fears? If you're dealing with a colleague who's resistant to change, try to understand their fear. Are they worried about job security? About learning new things? About the extra workload?
That makes so much sense. If I fear losing my job, I'm going to resist any changes that might lead to that, even if the changes are objectively good for the company. My perspective is shaped by my fear.
Exactly. And if you can acknowledge that fear and perhaps address it directly with assurances or support, you're much more likely to gain their cooperation than if you just push or change through. So, remember our talk about different lenses from episode 2? This walk-a-mile approach is about consciously trying on those other lenses. We're not discarding our own, but we're adding to our collection.
It's like expanding your vision. Instead of just seeing the landscape from your mountaintop, you're also seeing it from the valley, from the forest, from the riverbank. Each view offers something unique.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And when you have these multiple viewpoints, you can synthesize them. You can find solutions that benefit everyone, or at least that find a middle ground. This approach also helps us to challenge our own assumptions. Sometimes we hold on to beliefs or opinions very tightly, and we don't question them. By trying to see things from another perspective, we might realize our own viewpoint isn't as solid as we thought.
It's like a mental exercise that strengthens our critical thinking. It forces us to step back and evaluate our own position more objectively.
And it breeds humility. When you really understand someone else's perspective, you realize that your way isn't the only way or necessarily the best way. It fosters connection, reduces conflict, and ultimately leads to more creative and sustainable solutions. You're not just solving a problem, you're building bridges.
So, to recap for our listeners, the walk a mile approach is about actively cultivating multiple viewpoints. It involves 1. Deciding to understand someone else's perspective. 2. Practicing active listening, focusing on understanding their words and emotions. 3. Asking clarifying questions to gather information and check your comprehension. 4. Trying to articulate their viewpoint back to them to confirm understanding. And 5. Imagine yourself in their situation. What are their pressures, goals, and fears?
Excellent summary, Lisa. By doing these things, we can move beyond our own limited viewpoint and gain a much richer, more complete understanding of any situation. This leads to greater empathy, better problem solving, and stronger relationships. It truly is the foundation for seeing challenges and finding opportunities we might otherwise have missed.
It's a proactive way to shift our perspective, not just reactively. I'm already thinking about how I can apply this in my daily interactions.
That's the goal. Next episode, embracing optimistic realism, beyond toxic positivity. Welcome back, everyone, to the Perspective Shift. Last time, we explored the walk-a-mile approach, really learning to step into others' shoes to understand their viewpoints. Today, we're diving into something crucial for navigating life's inevitable ups and downs, embracing optimistic realism, and importantly, understanding how it's different from what some call toxic positivity.
That's such a great point, Alex. Because sometimes when we talk about being positive, people can feel like they're being told to just ignore what's actually happening. Like, if something bad occurs, we should just plaster a smile on and pretend it's fine. That doesn't feel very helpful, does it?
Absolutely not. And that's exactly where the idea of optimistic realism comes in. Think of it as a balanced perspective. On one hand, you acknowledge the reality of a situation, including its difficulties, its challenges, and the genuine emotions that come with it. You don't deny the darkness.
So, it's about being honest with yourself and the situation, not trying to paint over the cracks, but seeing them for what they are.
Precisely. And then, on the other hand, you hold on to a belief that things can improve or that a positive outcome is possible, and importantly, that you have the agency to work towards that positive outcome. It's grounded hope. It's not wishful thinking. It's hopeful action based on a realistic assessment.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. So, it's not about suppressing negative feelings. It's more about accepting them as part of the picture, but not letting them be the entire picture.
Exactly. And this is where we differentiate it so clearly from toxic positivity. Toxic positivity is essentially the excessive and ineffective overgeneralization of a happy and optimistic state across all situations. It's the belief that people should maintain a positive mindset no matter how dire the situation.
So it's like saying, good vibes only, even when things are truly awful. That can feel invalidating to someone who is actually suffering.
It can be incredibly invalidating. Imagine someone going through a significant loss, and someone tells them, everything happens for a reason, just be positive. While the intention might be good, it dismisses the very real pain they are experiencing. It suggests their negative emotions are wrong or unwelcome.
And that can lead to people feeling isolated or ashamed of their own feelings. They might think, if everyone else is supposed to be happy, what's wrong with me?
That's a powerful consequence. Optimistic realism, on the other hand, says, yes, this is incredibly difficult. It's okay to feel sad, angry, or scared. However, here are the aspects of the situation that are still within our control. And here are the potential pathways forward. We can get through this step by step.
It's about acknowledging the struggle, but also identifying the opportunities for growth or problem solving that still exist. It empowers you rather than shutting you down.
Yes, this dual focus, acknowledging reality and maintaining a forward-looking, hopeful stance, is what fuels proactive problem solving and resilience. When you are realistically optimistic, you don't get stuck in despair. You see the challenges, but you also see the potential solutions.
So, optimistic realism is a more active stance. It's not just about feeling good, it's about doing good, or at least doing what you can to improve things.
That's a perfect way to put it. Let's think about a common example. Imagine facing a significant setback at work, like a project failing. Toxic positivity might say, don't worry about it. Just think happy thoughts and it'll all work out. This is unhelpful because it ignores the learning opportunity and the need to address what went wrong.
Right. And also, the very real feelings of disappointment or even fear about the consequences.
Exactly. Now, optimistic realism would approach it differently. It would acknowledge this is a significant setback. It's frustrating and disappointing. We need to understand why it happened. So, you dive into an analysis, perhaps talking to the team about what could have been done differently. You wouldn't dwell on blame, but you would focus on understanding the lessons learned.
And then, building on that understanding, you'd look to the future.
Precisely. Based on what we learned, how can we adjust our strategy for the next project? What resources do we need? How can we prevent this from happening again? This is grounded hope in action. It's believing in the possibility of success, but only after a realistic assessment of the past and present.
It's like acknowledging you tripped and fell, and it hurt, but then you get up, dust yourself off, perhaps examine why you tripped, and then decide where to step more carefully in the future.
That's a fantastic analogy, Lisa. And this approach is vital because life will always throw curveballs. If we only rely on suppressing negative emotions or pretending everything is fine, we're not building genuine resilience. We're building a fragile facade.
And when that facade cracks, the fall can be much harder.
Indeed, optimistic realism builds a robust internal framework. It helps us process difficult emotions without letting them overwhelm us permanently. It teaches us to see challenges not as insurmountable obstacles, but as opportunities for growth, learning, and eventual success. Remember how we talked about reframing in earlier episodes? This is a powerful application of that. We're reframing difficulties not as endpoints, but as stepping stones.
So, embracing optimistic realism means we're not naive. We're not pretending bad things don't happen. We're just choosing to believe in our ability to navigate them, learn from them, and emerge stronger.
That's the essence of it. It's about being clear-eyed about the current situation, acknowledging the difficulties, but simultaneously holding on to the belief that things can get better and that you have a role to play in making that happen. This is the foundation for long-term resilience and a more proactive approach to life.
So, to recap for our listeners, optimistic realism acknowledges the reality of tough situations, including negative emotions, but couples that with a belief in improvement and your own agency to contribute to that improvement. This is distinct from toxic positivity, which can invalidate feelings by demanding constant happiness. Optimistic realism fuels proactive problem solving and builds genuine resilience.
Exactly. It's about being tough-minded and tender-hearted, all at the same time. It's a sophisticated way of approaching challenges that truly serves us.
It really is. It feels much more sustainable and empowering.
And it connects beautifully to our next topic. If optimistic realism is about seeing the potential for improvement, what better way to cultivate that than by actively practicing gratitude?
Oh, I'm already curious about that. It seems like it's building on this idea of focusing on what's possible.
It absolutely is. So, join us next time as we explore the power of gratitude, a counterintuitive resilience builder.
Fantastic. Until then, keep shifting that perspective.
Welcome back to the Perspective Shift. Last time, we explored optimistic realism and finding good when things are tough. Today, we're diving into a practice that might seem surprisingly simple, yet holds immense power for resilience: the power of gratitude.
Gratitude. Alex? I have to admit, when I first heard this topic, I thought, how does saying thank you help when I'm facing a real problem? It feels almost like a distraction from the actual issue.
That's a very common first reaction, Lisa, and it's precisely why this topic is so counterintuitive and so powerful. We often think of gratitude as a pleasant feeling we experience when something good happens. But what if we consciously cultivate it, even when things aren't going well? It's not about ignoring problems, but about shifting our focus. Think of it like this. If your eyes are constantly staring at a single dark spot, you'll miss everything else around it. Gratitude helps you widen your gaze.
So it's not about pretending everything is sunshine and rainbows, but about acknowledging the good that still exists, or the lessons learned, or the support systems we have, even when we're in a difficult situation.
Exactly. It's about reorienting our attention. When we're faced with challenges, our brains naturally zoom in on the threat, the lack, the problem. This is a survival mechanism. Gratitude acts as a direct counteragent to that. By deliberately looking for things to be thankful for, we activate different parts of our brain. We remind ourselves of our resources, our strengths, and the positive aspects of our lives. This creates a mental buffer, making us less susceptible to being overwhelmed by negativity.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like building up our internal reserves, so to speak. When a challenge hits, we're not starting from zero. We have a foundation of positivity to draw on. You mentioned it's a counterintuitive resilience builder. How is it counterintuitive?
It's counterintuitive because our immediate impulse in hardship is often to fix, to fight, or to feel despair. Gratitude, on the other hand, feels passive. It's about acknowledging what is, rather than solely focusing on what should be or what's wrong. But this acknowledgement is incredibly active. It requires intention and effort. And by shifting our perspective, we often find that the problems themselves start to look a little smaller, or we find new avenues for solutions because we're not blinded by negativity. It's a proactive way of managing our internal state, which then allows us to be more effective in dealing with external challenges.
So, if someone is going through a really tough time, maybe they've lost their job or are dealing with a difficult relationship, how can they actually practice gratitude? It feels like a big ask.
It absolutely is. And the key is to start small and to be consistent. One of the most effective and widely recommended practices is a gratitude journal. You don't need to write an essay each day, just 3 to 5 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be monumental. Maybe it's the taste of your morning coffee, a comfortable bed, a kind word from a colleague, a beautiful sunset, or even just the ability to breathe. The act of writing them down solidifies them in your mind.
Okay, so a gratitude journal. 3 to 5 things a day. What else?
Another powerful technique is what some call a gratitude walk. As you move through your day, consciously notice things you appreciate. It could be the architecture of a building, the way the light hits the trees, the efficiency of public transport, the sheer variety of food available at a market. It trains your brain to be on the lookout for good. You're actively scanning your environment for positives, rather than automatically scanning for negatives.
I like that. It's like a mini awareness exercise. It sounds like it reinforces that idea from previous episodes about actively seeking different viewpoints. You're intentionally looking for the good viewpoint.
Precisely. And it's also incredibly useful to verbalize your gratitude. Expressing thanks to others, whether through a spoken word, a thank you note, or a quick text, not only brightens their day, but also reinforces your own feelings of appreciation. It creates a positive feedback loop. When you acknowledge what others do for you, you recognize the network of support and kindness that exists in your life, further solidifying your resilience.
I can see how that would be especially helpful when you're feeling isolated or overwhelmed. It reminds you that you're not alone and that there are people and things contributing positively to your life.
Absolutely. And there's a scientific basis for this. Studies have shown that regular gratitude practice can lead to increased happiness, better sleep, stronger immune systems, and even lower blood pressure. It literally changes our physiology for the better. It reduces stress hormones like cortisol and increases feel-good neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. So it's not just a nice idea, it's a powerful tool for well-being.
Wow, that's fascinating that it has such profound physical effects. So, to recap for our listeners, gratitude isn't about ignoring hard times, but about actively shifting our focus to acknowledge the good that exists, however small. It's a practice that builds a mental and emotional buffer, making us more resilient. We can cultivate it through gratitude journals, gratitude walks, and by expressing thanks to others. And the benefits extend not just to our mental state, but to our physical health too.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. The beauty of gratitude is that it's accessible to everyone, anytime, anywhere. It doesn't require special equipment or a lot of time. It just requires intention. And when you start to consistently practice it, you'll find that your perspective truly begins to broaden. You don't just see the challenges, you also see the opportunities, the support, and the abundance that still surrounds you. This practice, when integrated with optimistic realism, creates a robust inner strength that can help you navigate just about anything life throws your way.
It really does sound like a vital piece of the perspective shifting puzzle. I'm definitely going to be more mindful of practicing this myself.
Excellent. And next time, we'll be looking at the long-term game, how to think big picture for today's problems. Next episode, the long-term game, big picture thinking for today's problems. Welcome back to the Perspective Shift. Last time, we explored gratitude's surprising power to build resilience. Today, we're shifting gears to discuss the long-term, big-picture mindset for today's problems.
That sounds challenging, Alex. It's hard to zoom out when a problem feels overwhelming right now.
Our natural instinct is to focus on the immediate, the urgent. When a problem hits, our brains often go into survival mode, hyper-focused on the threat. This is very common.
It's like tunnel vision. You can't see anything else. So, how do we break free and start thinking about the long game?
One effective way is through conscious practice. Imagine looking at a single tree, focusing on a broken branch. That's the immediate problem. But if you step back, you see the whole forest. You see how that tree fits into the larger ecosystem.
That's a great analogy. So, zooming out is like stepping back to see the whole forest. How does that help with our problems?
When you zoom out, the immediate frustration often loses some power. You start to see today's obstacle as a temporary setback, not a permanent roadblock. This reframes the situation. You find the hidden lessons more clearly.
So it connects back. When we only look at the immediate issue, it's hard to learn. But when we see it as part of a larger journey, we can extract wisdom.
Exactly. This approach helps us avoid overreacting. We're less likely to make rash decisions based on temporary panic when we consider the long-term consequences. It encourages strategic thinking. Instead of just fixing the broken branch, you might consider if the tree needs better soil or more sunlight.
That makes sense. It's about understanding the root cause or the larger context, not just swatting at symptoms. So, how do we practice this? Do we just tell ourselves to think big picture?
It requires intentional steps. First, acknowledge the emotion. It's okay to feel frustrated. Then, consciously ask yourself, what is the bigger picture here? Or, how will this matter in a week? A month? A year?
That question itself is a powerful tool. It forces our brains to engage differently.
It does. Another technique is to consider the impact on different areas of your life or work. Is this problem isolated, or does it ripple outwards? By mapping those connections, you gain a clearer vision of the whole forest, not just the single tree.
So, it's about intentionally broadening our perspective. Not just looking at the problem, but its surroundings, its history, and its potential future.
Precisely. And this is crucial for navigating complex challenges. Life rarely presents us with simple, isolated issues. Most problems are interconnected. Big picture thinking helps us see those connections and develop more sustainable, holistic solutions. It's about transforming a firefighting mentality into a strategic planning one.
I think I understand. So, instead of just fighting the immediate fire, we're thinking about fire prevention for the entire forest.
That's a fantastic way to put it, Lisa. And it doesn't mean ignoring the urgent. It means addressing the urgent with the wisdom of the larger context. It's not about denying the problem, but about contextualizing it. This perspective helps us make decisions that serve not just the immediate need, but our long-term goals and well-being.
It seems like this big picture thinking ties directly into resilience, too. If you know that this current challenge is just a part of a much larger, ultimately manageable situation, it's easier to persevere.
Absolutely. It fosters a sense of agency. When you see the whole forest, you understand that you have more influence than you might realize. You can make choices that nurture the entire environment, not just react to a single issue. This is where the long-term game pays off. It's about building a strong foundation that can withstand future storms.
So, to recap, Today we're talking about the importance of big picture thinking to tackle today's problems. We learned that by consciously zooming out, we can diminish the immediate power of a problem, avoid overreacting, and encourage strategic, sustainable solutions. This connects to finding lessons and builds our resilience by contextualizing challenges. Key practices include asking, "What's the bigger picture?" and considering how a problem impacts different areas.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. It's about moving from seeing a problem to understanding its place in the landscape of your life or work. This skill is vital for sustained growth and navigating life's complexities. It helps us to not just survive challenges, but to truly thrive by making choices that benefit us far into the future.
It really does feel like a cornerstone of a more empowered and less reactive life.
It is, and it's a skill that can be developed with consistent practice. We've covered so much ground in building your perspective shifting toolkit. Next episode, broadening cultural horizons and understanding a world of perspectives. Welcome back. Last time we explored cultivating multiple viewpoints. Today, we're going global.
Today, in episode 9, we're diving into broadening cultural horizons, a world of perspectives. Our backgrounds shape how we see everything, but what happens when we actively seek out perspectives from entirely different cultures?
It's transformative, Lisa. Our worldview is like a set of lenses, often tinted by our upbringing and society. While these lenses help us make sense of our world, they can also limit what we see. Broadening our cultural horizons means gaining new lenses or adjusting the tint on our current ones.
So, it's about actively seeking understanding from people with different life experiences, histories, and ways of approaching problems. That feels like a natural extension of considering different viewpoints.
Exactly. Think of it this way. If you've only tasted salt, you might think that's the peak of flavor. But once you experience sweet, sour, bitter, and umami, your understanding and appreciation of food expands immeasurably. Culture works similarly with our understanding of life.
That's a great analogy. So, how can listeners practically go about broadening their cultural horizons? Not everyone can travel the world.
You're right, travel is powerful, but not the only way. The first step is curiosity. Genuine curiosity about how other people live, what they value, and why they do things differently. This curiosity can be satisfied right where you are.
Curiosity. What's next?
Next is engagement. Actively seek opportunities to interact with people from different cultures. This could be through local community events, volunteering with organizations that serve diverse populations, or striking up conversations with new neighbors. It's about making an effort to connect on a human level.
So, not just observing, but actually engaging?
Precisely. And beyond direct interaction, there's education. This is where books, documentaries, films, and online resources come in. Learning about other cultures' histories, art, philosophies, and social structures provides rich context. It helps us understand the why behind their traditions and beliefs.
That makes sense. Sometimes, when we encounter something different, our first instinct is to judge. But if we understand the context, the history, or the philosophy, we're more likely to approach it with understanding.
Absolutely. And this understanding is crucial for developing empathy. When you learn about the struggles or triumphs of another culture, you start to feel a connection. You begin to see shared humanity, even amidst vast differences. This empathy is a powerful tool for overcoming prejudice and fostering a more inclusive mindset.
So, we've got curiosity, engagement, education, and empathy. Those sound like solid pillars. What are the tangible benefits? How does it help us in our daily lives?
The benefits are profound. Firstly, it challenges our assumptions. We all operate with unconscious biases. Exposure to different ways of thinking can reveal these biases, allowing us to question them and form more balanced viewpoints. You might realize a belief you took for granted isn't universally held, or that there are better ways to approach a problem.
Oh, that's huge. Confronting our assumptions without feeling attacked, that's a big step towards growth.
Indeed. Secondly, it enhances problem solving. If your only approach comes from your own cultural framework, you might get stuck. But if you've learned from other cultures, you suddenly have a wider array of strategies and perspectives to draw upon. What works in one culture might offer a brilliant solution in yours.
It's like having a bigger toolbox. Instead of just a hammer, you suddenly have a wrench, a screwdriver, and a pulley system.
Perfect analogy. Another major benefit is increased adaptability. In our interconnected world, being able to navigate diverse environments and communicate effectively across cultural lines is an essential skill. This broadens your ability to connect with people from all walks of life.
I can definitely see how that would make life smoother. And it probably makes us more resilient, too. When things go wrong, having a wider perspective can help us see that it's not the end of the world, or that there are different ways to recover.
Exactly. It fosters intellectual humility. Recognizing that your own culture's way isn't the only way or necessarily the best way makes you more open to learning and less defensive when challenged. It's about understanding that there's a rich tapestry of human experience out there.
So, Alex, to recap, we're broadening our cultural horizons to gain a richer understanding of the world. We discussed how our own culture acts like lenses that can limit our view, and that by cultivating curiosity, engaging, educating ourselves, and building empathy, we gain new perspectives.
And the benefits are significant, challenging our assumptions, enhancing problem solving, increasing adaptability, and fostering intellectual humility. It equips us with a more comprehensive toolkit for navigating life's complexities and finding opportunities.
It really ties back to our core theme of seeing challenges as opportunities. When you have a broad cultural perspective, you're less likely to be blindsided by differences and more likely to find innovative solutions by drawing from a wider pool of human wisdom.
And this concept of multiple viewpoints, which we touched on in episode 5, is now amplified on a global scale. It's not just about understanding your neighbor's viewpoint. It's about understanding the collective wisdom and diverse experiences of humanity.
It's about realizing that the world is this incredible, diverse, interconnected place, and the more we understand that diversity, the better equipped we are to thrive within it.
Well said, Lisa. Next episode, Building the Automatic Habit. Consistency is key. Welcome back. Today we're making our perspective shifting skills automatic.
That's right, Alex. We discovered how stepping outside our own cultural bubble can reveal assumptions we didn't even know we had. It was all about actively seeking out those different viewpoints and appreciating the richness they bring.
And today, we're moving into the crucial phase of making these perspective shifting skills second nature. We've learned a lot of fantastic techniques over the past 9 episodes, from reframing with what ifs to cultivating gratitude and thinking big picture. But knowing how to do something is one thing, and having it become an automatic response is quite another. This episode is all about building that automatic habit. Consistency is key.
This feels like the real turning point, doesn't it? We've equipped ourselves with this amazing toolkit, but how do we ensure we actually use it when we need it most? Because when stress hits or a challenge blindsides us, our old habits, those unhelpful ways of thinking, tend to resurface automatically.
Exactly. And that's where the magic of consistency comes in. Our brains are wired for repetition. The more we do something, the stronger those neural pathways become, and the easier it is to access that skill. Think about learning to ride a bike. Initially, it required intense focus and conscious effort. You had to think about pedaling, balancing, steering. But with practice, it became automatic. You just do it.
That's such a great analogy. So, the first step to building this automatic habit is, simply put, repetition. We need to consciously and consistently practice the perspective shifting techniques we've learned. Even when things are going well, or when a challenge seems minor, that's the perfect time to exercise our perspective muscles.
Precisely. Don't wait for a crisis to deploy your newfound skills. Make it a daily practice. Maybe you start your day by consciously reframing one small thing you're not looking forward to. Or perhaps you end your day by practicing gratitude for 3 things, like we discussed. The key is to integrate these actions into your routine, making them as natural as brushing your teeth.
And how do we ensure we're truly engaging with the practice, not just going through the motions? I can see myself saying the gratitude words without really feeling them.
That's a valid concern, Lisa. This brings us to the second element, conscious effort. While repetition builds the pathway, conscious effort deepens the understanding and impact of each practice. When you reframe a situation, don't just replace the negative thought with a positive one. Really dig into the what if or the hidden lesson. Ask yourself why this reframing feels different or helpful. When practicing gratitude, connect with the genuine feeling of appreciation.
So it's about quality over quantity in a way? Even a few minutes of deep, conscious practice is more effective than a longer period of mindless repetition.
Absolutely. It's about being present with the practice. And to help with that, we need to create triggers, cues that prompt us to engage our perspective shifting tools. For example, if you tend to get stressed when you check your email, you could create a rule for yourself. Every time I open my inbox, I will take one deep breath and ask myself, what's one positive or neutral way I can view the contents of this email?
Oh, I like that. So, the trigger is opening the email, and the prompt is the breath and the question. This helps break the automatic negative reaction. What other kinds of prompts or triggers could we use?
We could tie prompts to specific times of day, like we just mentioned, or we can link them to specific activities. If you're someone who gets frustrated in traffic, you might decide that every time you hit a red light, you'll use it as a chance to practice a technique. Maybe you'll think of 3 things you're grateful for, or you'll consciously look for the lesson in the delay. Perhaps it's teaching you patience or giving you a moment to decompress before arriving.
It's like training yourself to see these everyday moments not as obstacles, but as opportunities to practice. And if we consistently build these small practices, these small moments of conscious shift, over time, they'll start to compound.
Exactly. The compound effect is immense. Think of it like compound interest. Small, consistent deposits over time lead to significant growth. The same applies to our mental habits. Each conscious effort to reframe, to find gratitude, to adopt a broader perspective strengthens that habit. And eventually, it becomes less of a conscious effort and more of an automatic response.
So, to recap, building the automatic habit of perspective shifting relies on 3 key pillars: consistent repetition, conscious and deep engagement with the practice, and creating specific triggers that prompt us to use our skills.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. And it's important to remember that this is a journey. There will be days when you slip back into old patterns. That's perfectly normal. The key is not to get discouraged, but to acknowledge it, learn from it, and gently guide yourself back to your practice. Every time you choose to consciously shift your perspective, you're reinforcing that new, more resilient way of thinking.
And we've covered so many powerful techniques to draw upon. Remember the what if questions from episode 3? We can use those to explore possibilities instead of dwelling on problems. And the idea of finding the hidden lesson from episode 4 can turn any setback into a learning opportunity.
Absolutely. And let's not forget the power of diverse viewpoints from episode 9. When we're stuck, actively seeking out how someone else might see the situation can unlock new solutions. Even the optimistic realism we discussed in episode 6, moving beyond just positive thinking to acknowledging reality while maintaining hope, is a vital part of this consistent approach.
It all ties together so beautifully. It's not about suddenly becoming a different person, but about consistently applying these tools to gradually, day by day, build a more resilient and adaptable mindset.
And that mental resilience is what will allow us to navigate complex challenges as we move forward. We're building a stronger, more flexible internal framework that can adapt to whatever life throws our way. This consistent practice isn't just about feeling better in the moment. It's about fundamentally changing our relationship with challenges.
So, for this week, the challenge is to identify one specific trigger in your day and create a clear, simple prompt to practice a perspective shifting technique. Make it small, make it actionable, and make it consistent.
That's your mission. Remember, consistency is key. By deliberately practicing these skills, we train our brains to default to a more constructive and empowering perspective. This is how we move from knowing to doing and from doing to being. Next episode, we'll tackle navigating those really complex challenges with the toolkit we've built. You won't want to miss it. Welcome back to the Perspective Shift. Last time, we talked about making consistency key to building habits. Today, we are bringing it all together.
That's right, Alex. We've learned how to see differently, unpack perspectives, and use reframing techniques. We've explored multiple viewpoints, optimistic realism, gratitude, and big picture thinking. Last time, we focused on making these practices automatic. Now we'll see how these pieces work together when things get tough.
Exactly. Think about a challenging situation, a project hitting roadblocks, a family disagreement, or a personal setback. When we face multifaceted problems, it's easy to feel overwhelmed and react with panic or defensiveness. But with our perspective shifting toolkit, we can approach these situations with more clarity and effectiveness.
So, how do we start applying this in the moment? It sounds like a lot to remember.
That's where the automatic habit comes in. The goal is for these tools to become second nature. But for today, let's break down how we might intentionally use them. Picture a complex work project facing a major budget cut. This can trigger stress.
Oh, I can imagine. The immediate thought is probably this is a disaster.
Precisely. That's our initial perspective. The first step is to recognize this. Then, we can bring in our reframing techniques. Remember asking, what if? Instead of focusing on the disaster, we can ask, what if this budget cut is an opportunity to reevaluate our priorities? Or what if it forces us to find more innovative, cost-effective solutions?
That's a great way to shift the focus away from the problem and towards potential solutions. So, instead of just seeing the loss, we're opening our minds to possibilities.
Exactly. And remember when we talked about finding the hidden lesson? Even in a budget cut, there's likely a lesson. Perhaps it highlights inefficiencies we've overlooked, or maybe it teaches us to be more resourceful. These aren't things you might see if you're solely focused on the negative.
I can see how those two reframing techniques, asking what if and looking for the hidden lesson, work hand in hand. They help you move from a place of fear to a place of curiosity.
They absolutely do. Now, let's consider a complex disagreement with a colleague. Our initial perspective might be to see them as unreasonable. This is where cultivating multiple viewpoints becomes crucial. We need to actively try to see the situation from their shoes.
That can be really hard, especially when emotions are high. It's so easy to get stuck in our own narrative.
It is. But by consciously asking ourselves, what might be their perspective? What pressures are they under? What are their goals? We can begin to de-escalate and find common ground. We're not saying you have to agree with them, but understanding their viewpoint is a powerful step towards resolution.
And when we combine that with optimistic realism, it becomes even more potent. We acknowledge the difficulty of the situation, but we also hold on to the belief that a positive outcome is possible if we work towards it.
Precisely. Optimistic realism is about facing the facts, however unpleasant, but maintaining a hopeful and proactive stance. It's not about ignoring the problem, but about believing in our ability to navigate it. And this is where gratitude can really anchor us, even in a complex challenge.
Gratitude? How does that fit into a tough work project or a conflict?
Even in a tough situation, there are often things to be grateful for. Perhaps you have supportive colleagues, or you're grateful for the skills you've developed that will help you tackle this, or you're grateful for lessons learned in past challenges. Focusing on these elements helps rebalance our emotional state. It reminds us of our strengths and our support systems.
So, it's like finding small wins or resources even when the overall situation feels dire. That makes sense. And then we can also bring in the big picture thinking.
Absolutely. When faced with a complex problem, it's easy to get lost in the immediate details. The big picture approach reminds us to zoom out. How does this challenge fit into our larger goals? What are the long-term implications of our decisions now? This helps us prioritize and make choices that serve our ultimate objectives.
So, to recap what we've discussed for navigating complex challenges, we start by acknowledging our immediate, potentially negative, perspective. Then, we deploy reframing techniques like asking what if and finding hidden lessons to open up possibilities. We cultivate multiple viewpoints to understand others. We practice optimistic realism by facing facts while maintaining hope. Gratitude helps us rebalance and recognize our strengths. And finally, big picture thinking guides us to make decisions that align with our long-term goals.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. When these tools are used in synergy, they create a powerful framework for resilience. It's about transforming how we approach challenges, not just how we solve them. This shift in perspective allows us to see opportunities where others see only obstacles. By consistently practicing these techniques, we build inner resilience that allows us to navigate even the most daunting situations with greater confidence and effectiveness.
It really is transformative. It's not just about getting through hard times, but about growing through them and emerging stronger.
Exactly. And that brings us to our final episode next time, where we'll be discussing the lasting impact of embracing this perspective shift on resilience, growth, and living a more fulfilling life. We'll tie together the entire series and look towards the future.
I'm really looking forward to it. So, join us next time for our final episode, The Lasting Impact, Resilience, Growth, and a Fulfilling Life.
Embark on a journey of discovery, embracing new perspectives.
It's hard to believe we're at the end of our series. It's been such a valuable exploration. Alex, can you remind our listeners what we've covered to get us to this point? It feels like we've equipped ourselves with a whole new toolkit for viewing the world.
Absolutely, Lisa. We began by laying the foundation in episode 1, the foundation of seeing differently. We talked about how our perspectives are like lenses through which we view reality, and how these lenses aren't always objective. Then, in episode 2, we unpacked our current lenses, encouraging listeners to identify their own default patterns of thinking.
And from there, we dove deep into the practical techniques. I remember episode 3, The Art of Reframing. Technique 1, the what if question. That one really made me pause and consider possibilities I hadn't before.
Exactly. And episode 4 built on that, with reframing techniques, finding the hidden lesson, teaching us to look for what we can learn even in difficult situations. Then, we moved to cultivating multiple viewpoints in episode 5, the walk a mile approach, emphasizing empathy and understanding different lived experiences.
Episode 6 was a breath of fresh air, embracing optimistic realism, helping us strike that important balance beyond just thinking positively to being realistically hopeful. And who could forget episode 7, The Power of Gratitude, a counterintuitive resilience builder. It showed us how appreciating what we have can actually make us stronger.
We then shifted to the longer term. Episode 8, The Long-Term Game. Big picture thinking for today's problems taught us to zoom out and see how current challenges fit into a larger context. Episode 9, Broadening Cultural Horizons. A world of perspectives opened our minds to how diverse cultures offer unique insights.
And then we focused on making it stick. Episode 10 was crucial, building the automatic habit. Consistency is key, where we learned that these shifts aren't a one-time fix but a practice. And just last time, in episode 11, Navigating Complex Challenges with Your New Toolkit, we brought all these skills together to tackle real-world difficulties.
That's a fantastic summary, Lisa. So, now we stand at the precipice of our final episode, episode 12, The Lasting Impact, Resilience, Growth, and a Fulfilling Life. What we're really talking about today is how these tools, when practiced consistently, transform our lives fundamentally. It's not just about changing how we see a single problem. It's about becoming a different kind of person.
So, Alex, what does this lasting impact actually look like for someone who has truly integrated these perspective-shifting techniques into their lives?
The first key outcome is enduring resilience. Think of resilience not as bouncing back, but as an ability to adapt and grow through adversity. When you have multiple perspectives at your disposal, and you actively look for lessons and reframe challenges, setbacks become less like insurmountable walls and more like opportunities for innovation and learning. You're not as easily derailed because you have a mental toolkit to process difficult situations from various angles.
That makes so much sense. Instead of being overwhelmed, you're equipped. You might still feel the difficulty, but you have a framework to navigate it.
Precisely. And this leads directly to continuous personal growth. When we shift our perspective, we're inherently challenging our own assumptions and biases. This is the bedrock of growth. Every time you ask, what if, or try to walk a mile in someone else's shoes, you're expanding your understanding of the world and yourself. This constant expansion prevents stagnation and fosters a lifelong journey of learning and self-improvement.
It's like giving yourself permission to not have all the answers and to always be discovering something new.
Exactly. And the third major impact is a more fulfilling life. When you see challenges as opportunities, when you practice gratitude, and when you're open to diverse viewpoints, your life naturally becomes richer. You're more likely to find meaning and purpose, even in everyday moments. You connect more deeply with others because you strive to understand them. You feel more in control because you recognize your agency in shaping your internal experience, regardless of external circumstances.
It sounds like it's about cultivating an internal locus of control, isn't it? Recognizing that while we can't always control what happens to us, we have a significant ability to control how we respond to it.
That's a perfect way to put it, Lisa. It's about internal power. Now, a crucial point to remember is that this isn't a destination, but an ongoing practice. The automatic habit we discussed in episode 10 is key here. It's like building a muscle. The more you use these perspective-shifting techniques, the more natural they become. They start to inform your reactions before you even consciously think about it.
So, it's not about being perfect or never falling back into old habits. It's about consistent effort and recognizing that even a small shift applied regularly can lead to tremendous change over time.
Indeed, imagine this. A gardener who only tends their plants once a year. They might get some results, but the garden will likely be overgrown and miss its full potential. But a gardener who tends their plants daily, weeding, watering, and pruning as needed, that garden flourishes. Our perspectives are much the same. Consistent, mindful attention is what allows them to truly thrive.
That analogy really stuck with me. And for those listening who might feel they're just starting this journey, what's your advice for maintaining that consistent practice?
Start small and be kind to yourself. Perhaps commit to one reframing exercise a week, or consciously practice gratitude for 3 things each day. Integrate these practices into your existing routines. For example, while you're commuting, instead of letting your mind wander to worries, actively think about a different perspective on your day ahead. Or, before bed, Reflect on a positive takeaway from the day. The goal is not perfection, but progress.
And remember that beautiful concept from episode 11. When you encounter a complex challenge, consciously pause and ask yourself, what is the lesson here? Or what would someone else see in this situation? Actively engaging those questions can prevent you from getting stuck in a negative loop.
Excellent reminder. This journey of shifting perspective is a powerful path to a more resilient, growth-oriented, and ultimately, a more fulfilling life. It equips you not just to survive life's inevitable storms, but to find sunshine and opportunity within them. You become more adaptable, more understanding, and more at peace with yourself and the world around you.
It's about having the inner strength to adapt, the curiosity to learn, and the wisdom to appreciate. These aren't just abstract ideas, they are tangible outcomes of consistent practice.
And that, dear listeners, brings us to the end of our series, The Perspective Shift. See challenges, find opportunities. We've explored the foundations, unpacked the techniques, and now we've looked at the profound, lasting impact these shifts can have. We truly hope you've gained valuable insights and practical tools to take forward. Remember, the journey doesn't end here. It's an ongoing invitation to see differently, and in doing so, to live more fully.
Thank you all for listening and for being part of this exploration. We've truly enjoyed guiding you through this process.
Thanks for listening to the series.